Welcome to the Producers Journal podcast. My name is Derek. Hello. Just learning how to speak. And I'm your host today. Thank you for joining me. This podcast is for really anyone, but mostly focused on being a producer and an agency owner. But again, I call this a journal because I just sometimes want to open up the microphone and talk about mental health or updates on my studio and whatever else might relate. As I always say, if you're looking for a top 3 list type of podcast, this is not the podcast for you. But I just try to keep you up to date and tell stories about my experiences in real time as these happen. I try to record these as close to publish day as possible to keep things as current as I can. ShelbyRoadProductions.com and Instagram at Shelby Road Productions LLC. This episode is presented to you by Shelby Road Productions. I did that totally out of order, but who cares really? And sponsored by Patreon. Click the link in the description and see what you can find in there as far as a tier that might work for you. That would go a long way to support me in this podcast. All right, let's get started here. So today's going to be hopefully a shorter one and a simpler one because I actually don't have much to talk about as far as, being a producer and producer type things. And the reason is so much of my time is consumed with this studio. So that's what I'm going to talk about. Before, though, I get into the studio, one quick little sidebar. This was a special moment. My daughter, Skylar, is in the high school choir group, and they're called the Hernando Singers. And they sent me a letter about 6 weeks ago or so asking if I would be interested in sponsoring. And they sent it to Shelby Road Productions. So they clearly found me on a list. And I read how the breakdown and everything, and basically you had 4 different tiers, which would put you in a different place on the concert programs. So you go to a high school choir or a high school band show, concert, and you get a little paper, and it tells you all the groups, the songs, the whole layout of the show. And then you have a section where they say thank you to our sponsors. Well, I was offered an opportunity to buy a space on that program, and I did. And I went small. Tier number 1 was $50 to $99 would get you a certain spot. And I would have thought smaller print and bottom of the page, but actually got top left, same size print. But what I decided to do is rather than do $99 from Shelby Road Productions, I did $50 from Shelby Road Productions and $50 from the Real Hernando podcast. Sure enough, right there in the program, if you're reading top, like you would normally read left to right, top to bottom, the very first business on the top left-hand corner is Shelby Road Productions. You would think the companies that spent $500 would be up there, but luckily it's not that way. So I felt really special about that. Thought that was really cool. Took a picture of it, of course, saving the program, save that, put that in the archive vault. And it was my first time as a business sponsoring something, and no better way to do it, or no better entity to sponsor than the Hernando Singers, because my daughter loves singing, always have loved singing, and this is her first year in high school choir. She's a freshman, and she sang in 8th grade choir, and she sings in a more community-based choir program called Choria. So boom. And I'm a big guy on firsts. I'm a sentimental person like that, because firsts are important to me because you can't change them. There's always a first. The first is always a little more special than number 2. No one remembers who's in second place, but they absolutely remember first place. So that was awesome. I enjoyed that. All right, so now the studio. Last episode, I talked about the ring light and the broken ring light that I had to return. Check out last episode for more context on the ring light. But very briefly, I'm testing on a ring light for my podcast station. And I like this ring light because it takes battery packs and it has awesome mounting options. So I was very excited to get this ring light, came in broken. And I praised Amazon because it felt very simple. You go to hit return, and typically then you just get a QR code, take your stuff to the local FedEx or UPS store. For me, it's a UPS store. And send it off. Boom, bam, done. So easy to return. Well, in this process, you hit return and it asks why, and then you say damaged product, and then it lets you know, well, you can either just return it for a full refund, or we can put in a new order immediately to replace it. So that's what I did. And as I left the microphone for my last episode, I was very excited about how smooth that went. And that didn't last that long. It didn't stay easy for very long. First thing that happens is I get a notification saying that the ring light is running late. No big deal. Happens. I've had it happen before. No issues. Well, 2 days pass, and still no updates. So I go to it in the order page, and I click deeper into it. Track package. Lost in transit. Lost in transit. Okay, so it's on the side of the street somewhere. And then this is what just frustrates me with any kind of platform is customer service and trying to dig your way through the layers of FAQs and live chats and all that bullshit. I want to get on a phone with somebody. That's how I roll. So I have someone to yell at. That's part of the fun. So I don't know what to do at this point. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm going to cancel delivery. So I hit cancel on the delivery. But now I'm noticing I'm not getting a refund. So now I'm really anxious. And I need a ring light. So I just go ahead and order another one, which is coming in today as I record this on September 28th. It is not lost in transit. So I'm getting a ring light. But now I got to figure out how to get my refund on the broken ring light after canceling its replacement. So finally, I just Googled Amazon customer service phone number. I highly suggest doing that with whoever you're trying to get to, because it just cuts through the bullshit. You get an 800 number, and it's right there. You don't have to dig and search through the website and get 18 pages in before you get a phone number. Just Google it. So that's what I did. And God bless the lady I spoke to. Of course, you know, of the foreign descent and bad connection, distorted phone line, hard to hear, hard to understand situation. And she was nice, and it took a minute to explain what was really going on, but they pulled through. I got my refund. All is good. So I'm still waiting to give you an update on the ring light and how it works. The other major accomplishment is, I'm going to call it cord and cable management. And by that, I mean organizing all the spider web of cords that might be behind your desk right now. Because you'll have a couple outlets on the wall centered to your desk, and then you got stuff coming in from the left, coming in from the right. Lights, computer monitor, speakers, printer. For me, I got soundboard, music board, LED lights, my webcam. I mean, my USB port as I'm looking around my desk. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and it was looking really bad back there. It looked bad. And my mother and my good friend Terry, as soon as they walk in here, they notice, oh my God, those cables. And they're right. It's an eyesore, and I'm trying to open up a professional establishment. And as I've mentioned in the past, I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I will have another ribbon cutting in here, which means I'm inviting aldermen, other members, and the mayor up in here. So it's got to look good. So thanks to my good friend Terry, I hope you're listening, Terry. She made me buy a while back wire protector. Now, for the hell of it, I'm going to read you the description of the title of this product from Amazon. Alex Tech 10-foot, 1-inch cord protector, wire, loom, tubing, cable sleeve, split sleeving for USB cable power cord, audio, video cable, dash, protect cat from chewing cords, black. So yeah, that's what I bought. And to try to visualize it, it's a mesh tube. I think that's really the best way to explain it. And you can open it up. You can crack it open like a clamshell. And then you line the cords through there, and then it wraps around the cords. But easier said than done, because you got cables coming from all different directions. And I have a table that rises. It's a powered table, powered desk. So we have to factor that in. So Terry not only turned me on to this stuff, but she got me started and took care of the desk situation. And it took a couple hours, because then you also want to get little sticky straps to go underneath your desk, so then you can clip on and wire up and harness wires to the bottom of the desk. But she did it. Thank God. So not only do you not see just a spider web of wires, but you have that professional looking, just like well kept, like tube, and it just looks really clean and professional. So then I continued from that. I actually bought more, and on my own cleaned up 3 areas. To the left of my desk, I have my little music board, my bass Sansamp DI Tech 21. And then I have my crappy little guitar Nux MG100. So there's a lot of cables coming back from that lead into my Rodecaster. So there's 2 XLRs coming, and that has its own power source. And then to my left, I have the printer. So there was a spider web that I built back there. I took care of that. Then next to my storage cabinet, I have my AV table. It's a whole other story, but that's now my charging station. So I have power strips and a 8-port USB port charger for batteries and cameras and all that right on the top. So that had a spider web of stuff. Plus, that's where my modem is. So I tightened that area up so you can actually roll out the AV table a few feet, and it's nice and clean with that tubing. And then just today, just before recording this, I cleaned up the actual recording section, the table with the mics and the Rodecaster and all the headphone cables, and clean that up. Looks really sharp. So when someone walks in, the first thing they're going to see, because they directly face the far corner of the room, and that's where the table is, and they're going to see cleanliness, sharpness, not a pile of wires going in all different directions. And then if they take a glance underneath my desk, they'll see professionalism again. And then they'll see professionalism coming off my Rodecaster, off of my office desk, going into my music stuff, and then onto the AV table. So it's those little things that I think definitely show that you're a level up, that you really care, and you mean business. I want to make sure the people that walk in here know that I'm for real. that this is for real. And then I'm terrified and just faking my way through it. Ordered panels. They are, I got 6 48-inch by 12-inch premium acoustic wall panels. 3 of them are black, 3 of them are gray. And I wanted to have some kind of design to the panels, but not spend $800 on a art panel that's sound dampening, but also like artwork. I didn't want to go that far. But I also didn't want to get the standard little 12-inch square of gray panels that work great. I wanted something a little more pleasing to the eye. So they will be hanging up. They will be arriving in 2 days. And I already have an idea of how I want to lay them out in the corner that the table is at. And that's it. That's all I'm really going to do for sound paneling. Because the guests will be facing towards that wall, so the paneling will capture the guest's voice. Mine's going straight into the curtain of the window, which will help. But really with post-production and optimization, it will sound fine. My biggest concern is the air vent above me that you can probably hear now. So that's exciting. The fact that I'm focusing and actually ordering stuff to go on the walls is a good sign. That means I am moving along through these phases. To my left, the left wall, this is the wall with the storage cabinet and the AV table. There's nice real estate on that wall where I'm going to mount my guitars. So that's going to fill that wall. I'm going to have 2 hook mounts for my regular 6-string electric and my bass. So now that wall's covered. And then directly above me, as I look straight at this wall, which would be the north wall, perfect symmetrical amount of space directly above my desk that is screaming for my business logo and name. And that's where I'm finally going to add color to the room. Because right now, my room is, everything is black with sharp edges. It looks cool. I'm a big fan of black. It looks sharp. But man, once I get some color in here, it's going to pop and really fill the room up. And then there's a little section to my left. It's hard for me to explain. Where my desk is sort of like an indentation into the room. So it doesn't go one end to the other. It's probably 2/3 of the wall, and then there's the door out. So to the left, that's where I'm going to have my license, my zoning permit. What else am I going to hang up there? My letter of existence from the state of Mississippi, stating that this is a legit LLC, the city license permit, the zoning permit, something else up there, I can't remember. Again, I'm going to be bringing aldermen and the mayor and other people up here that I need. So I need to look right. I need everything perfect. My biggest fear is, even though my cables now and wires are all totally organized and everything looks nice and clean, it wouldn't take long for them to kind of really look behind things and poke around to see how many things are plugged in around here. There's a tiny bit of daisy chaining going on. Some of it has just been unavoidable. For example, my music board has 2 things plugged into it. It has its own USB, own power strip in there. And that way I just have one out. One cable coming out of it, plug it into a wall, boom. That's why power strips work. Well, that power strip is then tied into an extension cord that's going into another power strip. Don't tell anybody. And there's a little bit of that on my EV table. Don't tell anybody. Other than that, I'm on code. All my lights are LED, so they shouldn't have an issue with that. But that's where I'm at with this. So I'm hoping my ring light will come in before tonight. It's saying arriving around 10. Hopefully it's before that. Oh, and I also ordered just a nice fat roll of gaffer tape. Can't wait to get that gaff tape in, because on the back side of my podcast table, as you face the corner, I have one little floodlight down at the bottom facing up the wall, and that's where I get that blue tint going. So there's a cable, but there's that cable and then the power strip down there. So I want to gaff tape everything, make that look pretty and professional. And then gaff tape is just the shit, right? Anyone that doesn't know what gaff tape is, it looks like black duct tape, but then you touch it and it's not that glossy plastic feeling that you get from the non-sticky side of duct tape. But then we all know duct tape. It's so sticky. It sticks to itself if you're not careful, and then you can't separate it, and then you have to cut it off and then start over. Any musician out there knows if you use duct tape to tape microphone cables to the stage or whatever, and you rip that tape off, now your cables will be sticky for the rest of its life. There's like no way to unsticky it. Well, gaff tape doesn't leave that residue. It's a softer tape, and it's just great because you can tape a cable down on the stage, and then when it's time to tear down, rip off that gaff tape and clean. But yet it still holds a good adhesive, so it holds things down. Carpet, I'm going to need to mark where my tripods go, and I'm going to need to mark things on the floor. So when I move stuff around, because I need to be flexible in here, I'll have the gaff tape to guide me back to where things need to go. Well, if I use duct tape for that, after 6 months, I need to rip off some of that duct tape. It will chew up the carpet. It will just be a bad scene. Where gaff tape peels right off. So I have a roll of gaff tape coming in. I can't believe I'm talking about this in my podcast. That's how hyper-focused I've been on the studio in more of like a obsessive way, and not doing other things I probably should be doing, like running and growing a business. But I guess this is part of the deal. I'm planning for the future. This is forward motion. This is taking the big chance, fighting through imposter syndrome, all of the above. So it's growth. And I've mentioned in the past episodes, growth doesn't necessarily mean revenue and client base. Growth means moving forward, taking chances, and setting yourself up. And that's what the studio is. And that's why I keep talking about it. And it's a very special thing for me. So I appreciate you sticking around and keeping up to date with me. Again, this was presented to you by Shelby Rowe Productions. Check us out on Instagram at Shelby Rowe Productions LLC. Website, shelbyroweproductions.com. Patreon. Go to my description, click on the Patreon link, sign up for a tier. Right now I have one. It's called the tip jar. And that's just that. It's just a tip. So you get absolutely nothing in return. But my happiness, because you're supporting this podcast. It's $1 a month. So it's not that big of a commitment. But it may be for some. But if you're feeling generous and you want to give me $12 over the next year, that would be awesome. And if 1,000 of you do that for me, now we're cooking. All right, y'all. We'll talk to you later. Bye.